Age differences in VR chat. There's been a lot of talk about age difference in VR chat, especially lately now that age verification is starting to be put in place. And honestly, I have mixed feelings about this. I see two sides to this coin. There is a definite need for protections to be put in place for minors. There are too many kids on this platform. And I say too many kids on the platform, not too many adults for a reason. You see, the interesting thing about VR chat and other VR platforms that sets it aside from those more straight up gaming platforms is that VR started out as an adult platform. Yeah, that's right. You see, most of the situations where there are adults and kids interacting in cyberspace involve the more traditional gaming platforms. But VR isn't like those. With VR, it's not adults entering a kid's game, it's really kids getting access to an adult hobby. You see, originally, virtual reality equipment was very expensive and highly specialized. Not only that, there was a high degree of technical skill required to set up and operate the early VR rigs. It was pretty much only adults that were spending that kind of money on VR, and only adults that had that level of technical expertise to operate VR. But then something happened to change all that. Oculus happened. Suddenly, there was a VR rig that was affordable enough to be handed off to kids on Christmas morning. If you could afford a standard video gaming platform, then you could afford a Quest. And not only was it affordable, it was user-friendly, all together in one box, so easy to use that it was just plug and play. If you could operate a standard video game platform, then you could operate a Quest. That's when the kids entered a game that was, up until that point, an adult's hobby. So to say that it's a bunch of grown-ups playing a kid's game, I'm not sure that's true. In fact, I think it's kind of the other way around, actually. But maybe it doesn't matter how it started. Either way, there is a predator problem in VR chat, and measures do need to be taken to address that. I recently posted a video on the new age verification options and whether or not I think those measures will actually do anything. I'll leave a link for that at the end of this video. Check it out. But let me ask you this. What about a significant age discrepancy where both people are above the age of 18? Is that okay? What's appropriate there? Well, technically, both parties are legal adults, so everyone should be safe, right? Well, I'm not so sure. Maybe not. I mean, you have to admit that there's potentially a very significant power imbalance between, let's say, a 38-year-old predator and an 18-year-old who's just trying to make friends. What about, let's say, an 18-year-old girl that goes onto VR chat and makes friends with a 38-year-old man? I say 38 because that's 20 years older than her. And what if that 30-year-old man has bad intent for her? That 18-year-old girl is at a huge disadvantage. Is that something that needs to be looked into as well? I went ahead and I asked VR users what they thought about age discrepancy where both parties are above the age of 18, and here are some of the responses.
The most recent experience I had, I'm 22 and she's 38. And she got obsessed with me over a 3-day period and caused a lot of drama and stuff. And it was just she actually just blocked me today because I blocked her and then unblocked her because she started shit. And I was messaging her hey, this is, you don't need to be doing this. This is crazy. There's no reason for this to be happening. Explained my reasoning for blocking her, which was she was obsessed with me and it was making me uncomfortable. And then she begged me to not disappear again. And then today I was talking to her and I was I shouldn't have ever went to that party that I went to. It's been drama since day one. And she was let me make that easier for you. And then just blocked me. And I was okay.
I would say if a 19-year-old is friends with a 35-year-old, but they're both realize that it's a game and they're purely hanging out, let's say they're both just playing a game or let's say smoking weed and stuff like that, I feel it could be okay hanging out as two characters in an environment, nothing further, no real life interaction or anything. As soon as you leave an instance, it should be done. But as I said, it's purely situational in that matter.
So me being, before entering my 20s, I had a lot of older friends and people the same age as me. I think the oldest friend I have was in his 50s, I believe. And personally, me, I didn't know they were in their 50s because they never said they were. when I found out, I was like, oh, wow. But I had to step back and be like, okay, are they being a creep or are they just like experiencing VR? Because a lot of people, they're significantly older. Like you have your 30s, your 40s. I didn't know people in their 50s even was on this game, but I think that was like, yeah, the oldest person I met. He was very cordial. Like he was like, he prefers people like 21 and up. Like he'll be in an 18 plus like area, but like when he first met me, he thought I was like in my 30s, and I was like, no. He ended up unfriending me because I told him like, yeah, I'm 19, and he was like, oh, my respects, I can't be with anyone 21 or younger. And I kind of thought it was weird, because I am legal, but sometimes, hey, people have their preferences, and I understand that completely. So he was a pretty cool guy, until like friend of me.
So what is an acceptable age discrepancy? Well, we could try looking to IRL. In many cultures, especially those in Asia, when it comes to marriage, they use the half plus 7 rule. You take the age of the older person, cut it in half, and then add 7. That number's then the minimum age that the younger person can be. So for a 20-year-old, half plus 7 is 17. Yeah, okay, I think a lot of people would agree that's somewhat acceptable. For a 30-year-old, half plus 7 is 22. Yeah, okay, all right, I guess. For a 40-year-old, half plus 7 is 27, and so on. Well, I guess that sounds okay. There doesn't appear to be too much of a power imbalance between those age groups, 20 versus 17, 30 versus 22. These numbers are about as far as you should stretch, but they seem acceptable to me. But hey, who am I to even try to judge what consenting adults are allowed to do? An adult is an adult, right? Yeah, Kinetic, she's 18. That's an adult. That's all there is to it. Well, yeah, she's capable of making her own decisions. 18 is 18. An 18-year-old girl can legally work as a stripper in almost every state in the U.S. Nobody seems to have a problem with that, right? So why should we be talking about this at all? An 18-year-old girl can take off her clothes for money surrounded by a room full of 40-year-old men. But she needs to be careful who she talks to in VR. How is that any different? I don't really know, but maybe in some ways it is different. Maybe in a VR relationship, she is vulnerable. Listen, there may be predators lurking in VR, that's for sure. But predators all have one thing in common. They look for victims. But victims can come in all different shapes and sizes, and ages as well. Let's say hypothetically we do solve the problem of predators accessing minors in VR chat. The predators are still going to be there, likely in the same numbers. Somehow everyone's going to be comfortable knowing that? Problem solved? Really? No, the predators are still going to be there, likely in the same numbers, only the ages of their victims will have changed. And when looked at from that perspective, it seems like no one is looking for a solution to the actual problem, getting rid of the predators. I know, I admit, I don't have the answers to any of this. I'm just analyzing the problem and asking questions. What do you think? Drop a comment below. Anyways, thanks for joining me. I am Kinetic, and I will see you next time.